and welcome to the Anime Explorations podcast. My name is Alex.
I'm Tora.
I'm David.
And we are a monthly anime book club podcast where we watch an anime series and then talk about it. And before we get started, we usually also talk about things going on in the world of anime and anime-adjacent stuff, as well as the shows we are currently watching. And since we are reaching the end of the summer 2025 season, we might as well just do a quick talk about what we enjoyed, what we dropped, and that sort of thing. I'll just kick things up with the show I dropped, which was Sakamoto Diaries, actually.
Yeah, Sakamoto Days.
Days, rather.
Yeah. It wasn't as good second season. Especially for. Yeah, it feels like it's suffering the Netflix anime curse of they start with a budget and then it slowly gets reduced. So what you actually get to see is degrading over time.
And that's certainly part of it. I'd also say that, actually, honestly, part of what caused me to drop it was less animation quality and more narrative stuff. Because the back half of, I guess, season 2, for lack of a better term, or the second core, turns into a couple tournament arcs, with the second one basically dropping most of Sakamoto's supporting cast. And from what I gather of how the manga goes, that's going to be that way for a while. And that felt like, frankly, somebody like the mangaka's editor at Shonen Jump said, hey, you need a real tournament arc. You need something like the Hunter exam or the Chunin exam or whatever from Naruto. And the mangaka was not in a position to push back and say, but this isn't that type of manga. So that's where we're at now.
I kind of lost interest in the show when it revealed that, like, he can, like, magically regain the powers of a thin person. Like, I just really didn't like the subtext of him changing back into his, like, thinner, more conventionally attractive self. Like,
like I will say the
like, it's just kind of weird.
Yeah, I'll say the bit that worked for me for the first half of this season is like the power up arc thing. For that was him not needing to do that anymore. Is him not going slim anymore? Is him no. You can still be super strong and super tough and all this other stuff, and also keep the weight on. And like that worked.
When they first started doing it. Yeah, sorry. I'll let you finish.
Yeah, and that's just, okay, and now we need to retrieve some information from the Assassin Academy, which apparently as an alumni, Sakamoto, that's an alumni, but one of its most prestigious alumni, Sakamoto can't go visit, so we have to go through this real stupid entrance exam arc.
It's like, we have to go through so we can, re-enter, and I'm like, but you're all members, and very clearly based on the previous assassins we've seen, it's not that hard to get into. Yeah. It's like, this was done...
Executive editing.
Yeah. I don't know.
You managed to finish Clevitas, right?
I did. I enjoyed Clevitas. It was very much in the Berserk style of dark fantasy. It definitely was more hopeful than Berserk, but that's a real low bar. Oh yeah, Berserk is. I mean, I love Berserk. Don't get me wrong. I think they should have let it end with Kentaro Miura. Anything else we watched? Yes, we very much enjoyed the second season of Kaiju number 8.
Of course.
What else did we watch?
Like Alien Earth, but that was not an anime.
Yeah. Watched a few non-anime things this season.
So I've been watching Ruri Rocks with my dad. Well, my parents in general, but in particular my dad, who majored in geology, and he is getting a kick out of that show.
Nice.
Like that is very much the it's the wonderful sensation when you watch a show that you like that is enjoyable with a person who is knowledgeable in the field the show is about, and they go, yes, it's getting everything right. And
that's a rarity.
It's so nice to find a show that not only focuses on your particular area of expertise, but also does it justice.
Call of the Night season 2 was great. They actually got a little bit into the horror on this side. Also got darker in a bunch of respects, while still kind of keeping up. But I guess to describe as the lo-fi Vampire the Masquerade vibe from the first few seasons, or from the first season. Liked Dan to Dan. That was season 2 was enjoyable. I missed having the Creepy Nuts opening for Dan to Dan, but then again, Call of the Night has a new opening and closing by Creepy Nuts, so hey, I got my Creepy Nuts quota for the season. The show that probably had the most messy to watch way of viewing it, but was still enjoyable, very enjoyable, and glad I watched it week to week, was There's No Freaking Way I'll Be Your Lover Unless, which is probably the best of this season's disaster lesbian shows. It's a anime series about a socially awkward high school girl who is probably on spectrum, and also ends up inadvertently getting herself a harem of more glamorous and popular classmates. They're progressively going, I have no idea how I'm getting this, and I have no idea how to handle the situation. Which it just, I think is probably like one of the more like well handled ways of when it's come to the character accidentally gets a harem, the better ways of getting that, because we get more interiority with this character, so we get a sense of like if the character is either not able to commit to either monogamy with a particular person or go to heck with it and polyamory. Like having the interiority for why they don't feel comfortable doing that at this point works well, because the character had, like, up to their high school years has had no particular social experience, like positive social experience, and certainly not with dating. And now all of a sudden they're surrounded by people who like them makes for fun comedy. And we have our pinky political satire show, Nuki Taishi, which is based on a eroge, which was made during the Shinzo Abe government, and is very clearly heavily satirizing the Shinzo Abe government and their policies around trying to encourage people to get in heterosexual relationships and have kids by having the main characters be like either have body issues that are making them like not necessarily able to have relationships, or trauma-based impotence, or LGBT, and with them trying to oppose the government of this island that is pushing this particular highly exaggerated version, let's just say, of Abe's policies. Again, the game came out when Abe was still alive. I do get a little bit of a sensation that the production probably started before Abe got shot, but they just kept rolling with it because the political response to Abe getting shot was, no, actually.
The only time that I can think of of a political assassination, and everyone's like, you know, the shooter had a point.
Yeah. So it's like I get why it's on the platform that it is, because it's on like Ocean Vale is the streaming service that's carrying it, not Crunchyroll or High Dive or that sort of thing. And Ocean Vale is the platform that basically focuses on hentai and more explicit and heavily stuff, but like the explicitness level of the show, because of how they're using censorship stuff, is actually closer to like almost HBO level stuff. So it's kind of the thing where, like, I feel like the show would support a larger audience. The animation quality is still generally pretty good, and it does have a very good sense of humor to it. Also with so many sex puns. So many sex puns in that show. So that's the main anime I've been watching this season. That, and of course, Anne Shirley. The series finale is airing today, as if we're recording this. So I haven't had a chance to watch the last episode of that, but it sounds like this series is going pretty much all the way to the end of the book Anne of the Island, but there's a bunch more books that come after it. So it's entirely possible that after we recorded this podcast, we'll go check and discover that season 2 of Anne Shirley has been greenlit, which I'd be down for more of that.
The books go on for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Having read them all. We're getting a new season of Spy Family next month, I believe.
Yep.
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 And more campfire cooking. Another World with My Absurd Skill.
My favorite.
The new season premieres the 4th.
I'm hyped now.
I know. Been waiting all year for this.
You can't see me bouncing, but I am.
Yeah. New season of Cat's Eye the new Cat's Eye series, first episode already aired. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. Other shows I'm looking forward to, new season Spy Family, final season of My Hero Academia, a couple other comedies, new season of Ranma 1/2, a couple other comedy series like a Mangaka's Weirdly Wonderful Workplace, and Let's Play is the other name of the show. Other show that looked interesting. Weirdly, also, it looks like Let's Play is set in the US, Like, it's actually set in Los Angeles. Like, going from the description on Analyst, which they're getting from Crunchyroll, it's apparently set in Los Angeles, which might make for the first anime series set in LA since California Crisis, I think was the name of the show. Or the film. Which is interesting. Other than that, I'm going to possibly end up watching my first Digimon series this season with Digimon Beat Break.
Oh, I love Digimon. I've always been more a Digimon person than a Pokemon. So, cool.
All right. And other than that, couple news stories. Big one. I actually didn't get a link for this. So last episode, we talked about how protest movements in Indonesia had adopted the symbol of the Straw Hat Pirates from One Piece as the symbol for their protest movement. And that protest movement was and still is ongoing. Well, the protest movement in Nepal basically went, hold my beer, and have also adopted the Straw Hat flag, which they were using as they successfully overthrew the government and elected a new government over Discord.
Paul is schooling us right now, yo. I mean, hell yeah, Paul.
So that's the big one. And the more like, anime fandom ones are, well, Angel's Egg, the film by Mamoru Oshii and Yoshitaka Amano. Not only has it been licensed rescued by G-Kids, not only is it getting a physical 4K release, it's getting theatrical screenings.
Really?
Yes. Wide international theatrical screenings. The promotional trailer says available for screening for the first time in the US, but I have heard on multiple occasions of it getting like college theater screenings at various points. So this could be a this is a college theater, so no one's actually paying attention to what we're doing situation, or if this is a like this small independent theater license it for a one-off for one-offs at multiple points.
Well, wasn't it at the Hollywood Theater in Portland?
Angel's Egg, I think it might have been, yes. I know some of the other
so
Oshii's
wide release in the US.
Yeah, but yeah, this is the first time I suspect like this is going to get the full G-Kids Ghibli Fest level thing where like basically most major theaters are gonna get Angel's Egg. So we'll see.
I have noticed that there's been a little bit of a resurgence in some of the weirder and more high concept animated work from the 70s and 80s, like Ralph Bakshi's Wizards and stuff like that. And this kind of fits in with that vibe to me. It's just a very kind of surreal and high concept and interesting thing.
It's very atmospheric. I have seen it. It's a very atmospheric film, very moody. It's the kind of thing where, like, if G-Kids hadn't got it, my first pick for who I'd want it, while Discotheque is great, while Animigo is great, this is like the most Criterion collection anime in terms of the subject, like this and Belladonna of Sadness, and that sort of thing, in terms of films which are very like not like that either eschews conventional narrative structure or conventional narrative presentation with visuals that are very personal to the director or fitting into very specific symbolic themes that the director's going for. It's not necessarily trying to be a mainstream film as much in that regard. It's very it's very avant-garde. So I guess kind of speaking to avant-garde, that's actually a pretty good transition to our show we're covering this week, which is Gankutsuou, the Count of Monte Cristo. Well, you called dibs for this, so, Tora?
Mesdames and messieurs, good evening.
I was actually going to go for the for actual French version, because in the lead-in for every episode is in French, with the Mesdames, Messieurs, bonsoir.
This show and the fact that I've been obsessed with the video game Clair Obscur Expedition 33 for the last month, I am deeply immersed in the drama française. Just in it, man. It's awesome.
Yes, she is.
I'm dragging you with me.
So this show started its life as originally planned to be an adaptation of Alfred Bester's The Stars My Destination.
Woo!
And then when they couldn't get the rights from the Bester estate, they basically went, well, that Stars My Destination was based on the Count of Monte Cristo, right? Let's just go back to the source.
Go back to the source, but set it at the same time period as The Stars My Destiny. Oh god. I think that's a great place to start, is the half-assed job they did of a setting transfer to the far future.
interesting choices were made. I agree.
Interesting. They barely did it. It's like, you didn't put any effort into actually translating the setting to the far future.
There's like two very different things at work here in this adaptation, which is the actual adaptation of the story itself, which I actually think is fantastic.
Yeah, it's a fantastic adaptation of the story.
I love the choices they made that they changed from the novel, because I did reread the novel in preparation for this, and I prefer the story told in the show, actually, which is rare. But then also their real fervent desire to make a science fiction piece, and so they added spaceships and giant robots and all kind of like futuristic stuff, but at the same time the setting is still very
1800s France.
1800s France. Like they made Paris like a walled city-state, but people are still talking about like the Empire, and then everything that had to do with like the East, or as they call it in the novel, the Orient, they have turned into empires in deep space, which actually is a great way to sidestep some of the racism and Orientalism from the novel. At the same time,
it's like France is fighting this war with an alien empire, and it's like, wait, just France? There's nothing else about the entire rest of the planet.
The novel is very, very political, actually, and set in a very specific moment in time. And then their efforts to pull that into a far future setting, like David said, I don't think are completely successful.
What it felt like to me, in terms of the way that they did this, Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet.
Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet had impeccable style, and the setting was, I will say, successfully changed. The dialogue remained consistent, but only the dialogue. And even then, they shuffled some, lines around.
I will defend that film to my dying.
Oh no, I think that one's an amazing job.
It was an amazing stylistic choice, and it actually hammered home a lot of what people don't realize about Shakespeare, which was it was popular, some might say vulgar entertainment, and that was like the language of the people of the day. Like it's not meant to be this highbrow literary drama.
No, it's soap opera.
Yeah, it's soap opera. So I think it was great, but I see where you're coming from comparing it to the show. But I don't know. There were parts of it that I was like, great. I think the best single thing that they added relating to the science fiction setting was the absolute horror that they made out of the Chateau d'If by making it like a wetware prison. I thought that was amazing. But that was like kind of one of the only moments when I was like, "Oh, this is so great!" Like,
and even then, it's a blink and you'll miss it line.
Yeah, it's kind of The setting is there. I don't know that it serves the story very well.
Like when we see the Count, or when we see the flashbacks of Dante's in the prison, it looks like he's just in a normal cell. So, like, we're told it's, this wetware prison where, it's a fortress and all the prisoners' minds are used as, the CPU.
Yeah. That in itself is just a cool concept. I want more about that. But, yeah, it barely is mentioned. They actually were extremely faithful to, like, the human drama that came right out of the novel. And they shifted focus around a little bit. They started in the middle of the story, which, yeah, good choice. The novel goes on for, oh god, like 1,000,000 pages before the actual revenge plot starts. And it kind of shifts focus from the Count as the main character to Albert as the main character. By the way, if you watch this on Crunchyroll like we did, the subtitles are hilariously bad.
Because they're auto-generated.
They're obviously AI generated, and they keep calling Albert owl bear.
So that would be the English closed captioning subtitles that do that. The
Yes,
Japanese ones
not
are the regular ones. Just to clarify,
Good.
like
Yeah,
that,
for some
that is a
reason, Crunchyroll
Yeah.
does not use the actual subtitles for their closed captioning of English language.
Lame.
yeah.
It's
Like
interesting.
I need to mention that differentiation is for Japanese audio. They do have the proper translation by translators, and it's just whenever they do English stuff, they fall back on AI auto generation, which is crappy. Shame on Crunchyroll for doing this.
Shame. It's awful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so they made a lot of changes to the story as it is presented in the novel, which were really smart choices to make it a compelling narrative over the course of their episodes. There's a lot of adaptations of this story, right? And there's a lot of material. The novel is very long. Dumas is kind of like... Actually, when I was reading it, rereading it, I should say, obviously I was reading a translation from the French, but the writer that I would compare Alexandre Dumas to the most, that most people would be familiar with, is actually, oh god, I'm blanking on her name, the Vampire Chronicles lady? Anne Rice. Because there's a lot of florid description, and it's not necessarily bad, it's just that after a while you realize you've been in this scene for... way too many pages.
I'm in the scene for 3 pages and nothing's happened. They haven't even gotten to the conversation yet.
So they really they focused on Albert as the main character, which was a really strong choice. There's also this they put in this kind of interesting subtext of like a generational battle, which you see a lot in anime actually. Like I wonder if this is kind of a Japanese cultural thing. Where there's like kind of a sins of the parents mechanic versus the energy and power of the youth, that I don't know comes up a lot.
I do suspect this is to a certain degree like with certain generations who are gotten into animation, because I noticed like with the certain the generations who took part in a lot of the post-war protest movements. I'm thinking like Mamoru Oshii, as mentioned earlier, others that they have that cultural clash stuff in their background. Also comes up with Ikeda and Rose of Versailles, because she was part of the various left-wing movements in Japan, the socialist movements, until basically a lot of the women in the feminist groups kind of left because they were getting kind of treated like dirt by a lot of the men in the more communist side of things, which ultimately turned out to be the right call, because then the communist branch self-destructed with like there was a situation, I forget the name of the incident, where they went to the leaders of some or members of the communist groups, lured a bunch of the more not as far left members to a hot springs resort, and then killed them. And when the police got called, because the gunfire, there was a bit of a hostage situation. There's also unintentionally as the thing that led to cup noodles being a big deal, because the cops who were outside on the perimeter while the negotiation was going on were eating cup noodles, and they got photographed by newspapers and filmed by TV news. So there's an article by Matt Alt. I'll see if from his Substack. I'll see if I'll drop that in the show notes on that. Interesting little weird thing in terms of Japan's political upheaval in their history and how the ways that can play out in the pop culture in the long term. Anyway, but yeah, like that definitely leads into the class conflict here between, you have the situation with the Count, the Dantes, or / Gankutsuou, which in this is a different entity, which is interesting. And then also this younger generation, the children of the people who betrayed Edmond Dantes, and dealing with the decisions of their parents and that sort of thing, coming into conflict with each other at various points, as well as with parental figures.
My favorite thing that they added in was giving Franz so much to do. I will say that in the novel, he's kind of just there. And in general, I think this adaptation really, really benefits from, I'm not going to say a lack of Christianity, because obviously Japan is Christianized in a lot of ways, but they're not saddled by Dumas's need to make everything come back to Christian ideals, which really hampers the original novel, because he wants to tell this rip-roaring revenge story, but he keeps having to pull back his main character because, God forbid, you root for someone who's not, like, a Christian ideal. So it's it's kind of like he's fighting with himself on the page there. But regardless of the original intent, in this adaptation, I think making Gankutsuou a separate entity, like a Majora's Mask type entity, is what I kept wanting to call him because of the visuals and the skull moon, kind of neatly removes any, like, you don't have to feel bad about rooting for this guy, basically, because he has been taken over. And then you get to have kind of a little, almost, like, not a redemption moment for him, but Albert kind of redeems him a little bit, or saves him a little bit, giving Albert something to do in the big finale. And everybody gets their just desserts also, which is very satisfying. But having Franz be in love with Albert and having him show up for the duel in his stead was, I think, the single most brilliant change that they made. That was good drama, baby. That was good drama. I wasn't even bothered by the ridiculous, like, animation of the mech suits.
that CGI
I know it bothered you.
looked like it was like it like the show came out in 2004 and the CGI felt 10 years out of date. Like, it looked like Reboot or Beast Wars.
I will note that
90s.
I will note that the series was animated by Studio Gonzo, and this is the first Gonzo series we've discussed so far. And I remember, even like contemporaneously with this was Gonzo's rep when it came to is they would incorporate CG in shows, and often it would have a degree of clunkiness like this. The director, Mahiro Maeda, is like really pushing the CG resources that Gonzo has access to for animation to their absolute limits, and to an extent it shows. Like, if you're coming to this having watched more recent CG animation from, like, Studio Orange, for example, it's gonna look clunky in a lot of respects. And because it's used very pervasively as opposed to something like Initial D, where they save it for the racing sequences, here it's everywhere. It's literally everywhere.
Let's talk about the wild visual choices that they've made.
I did not enjoy. I enjoyed the adaptation of the story. I did not enjoy watching this because of the I want to say coloring choices, but because it's, what's between the lines.
Instead of fill color, they used patterns.
And it was never complementary patterns. It was always garish, and it looked like they were animating it with a collage.
Yes, it's clearly a reference to collage work.
Oh, and my eyes did not enjoy watching this.
Still collage versus moving collage, very different effect. Mm-hmm. So, it is overstimulating, I think is the best word. Any given frame, there's like 5 to 10 different patterns going on within it. The colors do not usually blend, like David said. They're usually pretty, like, wild. I do appreciate that when it came to the characters, they usually used the same patterns for the character from scene to scene. Like Hede's hair was always the same midnight blue pattern, which made the characters more recognizable. But I think it was intentional that it be very visually overwhelming and disorienting. A lot of the like background shots or establishing shots of this future Paris had just so much stuff going on. You had classical architecture, but also like crazy like balloons, and then you had spaceships and just
blimps with faces on the front.
Yeah, I mean, just a lot going on. So I can't imagine that wasn't intentional, that it was supposed to feel really chaotic and overwhelming. But I kept waiting for there to be like a point of stillness to focus on in all that chaos, and I can't say I ever really got it. Outside of maybe like the characters' faces in close up, because the actual skin color was usually a solid color, unlike everything else.
I would say we do get some of those moments of stillness in pastoral scenes. Like there's a narratively significant scene on the beach with various characters on the beach in the story, and we do get that sense of sort of color stillness there. There's a sequence on the fields leading up to the walled exit to the city later on in the series that has that. It's like they're trying to have like a contrast between noisy, visually cluttered, and visually polluted, I would say. Not in the sense of like atmosphere, like air pollution or that sort of thing, but optical pollution. Paris and the society of the city contrasted with the quieter scenes out in the countryside or near countryside.
I think there's an opportunity then to have quiet moments in space as well as a contrast. But yeah, I would have liked to see more of that, I guess. The Albert and the Count do go into space together one time, and it is a little bit more muted. But it's like, man, the blackness of space would be a relief after all this, you know what I mean? And I think that's intentional, but it does make it kind of difficult to watch. Yeah.
It's interesting. Go ahead.
I feel like the direction is consistent, and I don't have too much beef with any of the compositional choices that get made. But like you said, this studio's rep is for a little bit like lesser quality. That does kind of come across. Like the animation is obviously kind of reserved for the more important moments in some places, and then in others it's pretty lazy. But if you're gonna make it look like a piece of art, then I feel like you need to really like lead into that. So for me, it's very jarring because they obviously wanted to do something really interesting with the visuals, but it's like they didn't have the resources to push it enough to really have it serve the story. Instead, it's just kind of like, this is what we're doing. And it just didn't cohere for me. Even though the story is really well told, I'll say that again, the adaptation is fantastic, but yeah, I don't know,
it feels like it was used, just not utilized, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah,
they did it, but they didn't, like,
intentional.
it wasn't, like, intentional in how things were done. Or at least it didn't feel that way. Like, it's an animation production. Everything is done intentionally. Like, everything on the page is there because someone wants it there. And it feels like a lot of this, someone wants it there because it's the easy way out. Didn't feel like a lot of thought was put into certain things.
The character designs are good, though. I believe a famous fashion designer worked on this production, right? Anna Sui?
I don't recall. I'm like quickly like dashing through the trivia stuff. I'm not seeing anything at the moment.
I particularly liked Baptistin and Bertuccio. They looked like they were right out of JoJo's. It was great.
So character design. So original character design was by Maeda himself, and then animation character design was by Hidenori Matsubara. who like Maeda, as you mentioned, Maeda, Gainax alum, now also currently working basically hand in hand with Hideaki Anno. Also does character kaiju design work and monster design work for lots of shows. He did monster design for Kaiju number 8, for example. To tie into something you were watching recently. I'm not seeing any particular fashion design dedicated credits. What do you think of the music for the show?
Good. It is the drama. It was very opera. I liked it.
Yeah, operatic is definitely the way
Yeah.
to describe the soundtrack to this.
Very opera.
Yeah.
Although I have to say, I deeply disliked the opening song until I heard like the whole thing in the final episode. I don't know.
What about the closing? Usually for anime, you'll have a more up-tempo opening song to get the audience into it, and then a down-tempo closing for a show like this. Whereas here, you have the more slower-paced, contemplative opening song, and then at the end of the episode, pounding beats, and then for leading into "You Won't See Me Coming."
I mean, honestly, I felt it was really weird until I realized it was representing the two halves of Dante's life. It's his first half. The opening is very clearly the opening of his life. It's his first half. It's before he is sent to Chateau d'If. You know, when he's living this calm lifestyle. You know, has his fiance, happy to be getting married.
Everything's great.
And then the ending theme is just this Gankutsuou just screaming in his head all the time. And it felt like that.
Go get your revenge.
Why are we talking? We could be stabbing. Just saying.
Just say it, man.
Look, you've got them all here. Murder!
Murder time!
Yeah. Fun fact, the Japanese voice actor for the Count, Joji Nagata, is also the Japanese voice actor for Alucard.
Yes.
That is another thing. It's that the Count of Monte Cristo straight up is the same character design as Castlevania's Dracula. Specifically the Symphony of the Night appearance. But, like, as if you took the flames off his sleeves, it would be the same character design.
I mean, he walked into frame, and I was like, "Who's this Dracula-looking dude?" And David's like, "You ain't wrong."
That is exactly Dracula. That is the same beard. That is the same hair.
He even has fangs.
Why did his ears turn pointy when he was possessed?
I kept waiting for that moon to fall down. I'm telling you guys.
Why is the moon, our moon, suddenly have a big old skull? Was there a supervillain king of Earth at some point?
The moon did not fall out of the sky, but that giant eyeball sun did fall out of the artificial sky. So I was
Where was
slightly
he?
satisfied.
Where even was that? It was underground, but then suddenly it was in the sky. The ending felt.
This is magical cave because he's the lord of the cave.
Gankutsuou, king of the cave. I understand that. All I am saying is how the last few episodes they felt rushed. Like it was pretty sedate the first half, and then it sped up, and then it's
I kind of appreciated that though, because like the first 8 episodes in, I was like, this is too faithful. It's really taking its time. I need it to speed up, and then it did. And I was like, yes.
But it should have been a gradual speed up instead of slow, fast, dead sprint.
I don't know. I appreciated that pacing.
On the other hand, with a revenge plan like this, it does have the vibe of when the shit hits the fan, it was supposed to hit the fan, and it's
yeah, I appreciate that everything started collapsing all at once. I'm just saying it felt rushed. It felt like it was moving quickly. It felt rushed.
So what do you think of the? So I didn't watch the English dub much. What did you think of the dub?
I think
It was perfectly
it
fine.
was amazing.
I recognized, like, all the voices from other things.
This is 2004. This is, a pretty much everyone in this is known for something. Johnny Yong Bosch as Albert. I think this probably is right before he gets his career-making role as Ichigo in Bleach. But this is after he's already done Akira. And of course, Jameson Price as the Count is amazing.
It's good.
Yeah.
He spoke, and I was like, yes,
that is the right
I would
voice.
expect you to have. Yeah. Well done.
And for Critters, we have a Liam O'Brien appearance in this.
Andrea Cavalcati.
Wow.
What did you think of the reveal of, oh, by the way, the narrator who's been kicking off each episode, also the Gankutsuou spirit that's taken possession of the Count?
I didn't have a problem with that.
I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was the Count for a little while.
I mean, it's very clearly... The only thing is that...
Then I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
It seems a little weird that he's so calm and measured in, the narration, as opposed to when we see him in control of the Count, at which point he's nearly a raving beast.
Yeah.
And also Albert's dad, who shoots him, and then he's like, no, wait, you can't kill my son, please.
Oh,
I'm
my
like,
goodness.
only I get to kill my son.
Only I can kill my son. Damn it, Fernand. Young Fernand was hot. Just saying.
Yeah, but at the same time, young Edmund was pretty. So it's clear why she made the choices she made. Also, Edmund was a good person, and Fernand was waiting for a chance to be an asshole.
Yes, I didn't say he was a good person. Did I say anything about that? No. Commenting on exterior only. Yeah, I liked how he went a little nutso at the end. He was like, let's go ahead and bomb the monuments in my own city. Why not? I was like, okay, cool, you're going full on crazy.
Let's do a military coup, because no one's gonna vote me in as president now.
Actually, everyone kind of went full on crazy.
Yeah.
When Mercedes was shot, I was like, oh dang, are they doing that? But no, she survived. Like in the book, I was like, okay. I actually think it would have been interesting to have her die, but just me.
Okay, yes, but remember, she's blameless in all this, and it was a very Christian story. You cannot have the innocent dying.
She doesn't think she's blameless, though. Like, to a modern lens, it's like, okay, you were in love with a guy, and everyone told you he died, so you married someone else. What's the problem? But, like, her character is very tormented by the fact that she didn't wait for him, even though everyone told her he was dead. Like,
why didn't I join a nunnery?
Yeah. So, yeah. I don't know.
So what did you think of, what were some of your high points of the series? Like, one of my ones, we haven't talked much about the character of Haiti. And the moment where she confronts Fernand is just perfect. Well, like publicly calls him out and confronts him in front of everybody was excellent. That
was pretty sweet. And they left it pretty much as it was from the novel, because it's hard to improve on that kind of dramatic moment. Like, yeah. So they made her country, I guess, Yanina, which is like in present day Albania in the novel. They made it its own planet out in space, which was fine, which made sense to me. I liked that Baptistin and Bertuccio stuck with her at the end. Yeah. I'm glad they really downplayed. So this is another of the changes that I'm really glad that they made, is that in the novel, she is in love with the Count, and that kind of comes through in the adaptation. but the novel makes any never tries to hide the fact that he is old enough to be her father, but in the end they go off together anyway, and it's like implied that her pure innocent love redeems him, and it's like, no, I'm sorry, you don't get a child bride as a reward. That's disgusting. So I'm glad that they did not have that.
I will agree that it felt like she was, she loved him. I don't think it didn't feel like a romantic love in this show. It
Thank
felt
God.
like a new father figure, and he's like living down to my fears, not up to my hopes.
Even in the novel, she's like, yeah, my father and you are the only men I've ever loved. And she's like equating the two of them, even though she's clearly romantically in love with the Count in the novel, and it's creepy. So, good job cutting that out. And I like that she went back to her planet, and it was implied that, like, she basically got control of it back. She got her agency back and her future back, which I appreciate. Thank you. However, on the other hand, Eugenie, they really changed Eugenie and centered her in the adaptation. In the novel, she basically dresses up as a man and leaves Paris forever alongside her female companion, who is like her vocal coach. And it is heavily implied that they are in lesbians together. So I kind of wanted her to have that ending, but at the same time, I'm also okay with the changes they made in the adaptation. I feel like the way they set things up there really worked also. And I like that she got to go off to conservatory and live her dream. Yeah. So there you go.
What do you think about the changes with Franz, making it more texturally queer relationship, but also doing the bury your gaze thing with Franz ending up dead in the duel?
In that context, I for a second at the end there, I really thought Albert and the Count were gonna kiss, and I was like, yes. Like, say it out loud. But then they chickened out at the last second, and I was like, damn it. Clearly there was someone on the production who was like, no, you can't make this explicit, okay? You can't do it. Even though it's blisteringly obvious. So, I think what they did with Franz was amazing in terms of drama, but yes, it is also deeply unfortunate that, like, all of the homosexual agenda gets buried, because it's like, come on, you guys. I can tell what kind of story you're going for here. Just do it. Like, have some courage. Yeah. But yeah. The March of Progress has been very slow in this one particular instance, and it's maddening. To me, anyway.
Like those were kind of some of the big bits. Like, honestly, the like when the revenge towards the end, when the revenge plot goes into high gear, a lot of that is great, especially with how things go with Baron Danglars.
You were just waiting for that sleazeball to get it. Like,
he's gone full Scrooge McDuck.
You could argue perhaps that Fernand has some few redeeming qualities, that Villefort maybe has some few redeeming qualities, but Danglars is just a slime.
As I commented on the Discord, when his portion of the revenge plot come to fruition, basically, my comment was, man whose butt is entirely made up, ass entirely covered with bite marks. There's no way that this could bite me in the ass.
Oh, a second choice that they made for the sci-fi setting that I really liked was giving him like an AI companion to do his investing with. I thought that was really good. That made a lot of sense.
No, my app is down. I can't.
Yeah,
keep
exactly.
up.
And then it crashed, and he was like, "I physically can't enter things fast enough." No. I also think the animators gave the Count some absolutely amazing faces when he was like waving bye-bye to Danglars. He was leaving him alone on the plane of gold, marooned in space. Having a good time there.
Oh yeah, like a lot of his facial expressions during as he's pulling off his revenge is just absolutely wonderful. Who else? Oh, I actually, one of the things I liked, Peppo. Like, from what I understand, Peppo is not in the story that much, whereas Peppo stays actively involved in the story, is changed to, from what I understand, to just being canonically trans, survives the story alive, and generally gets all like
becomes a model.
Becomes a model, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Good for her. That was a really good adaptational choice also, especially because when she confronts Albert and she's like, I'm sorry, you thought it was just normal that this person you met on Luna would show up and work at your house specifically? Like, oh man, Albert gets hammered so hard, but so deservedly because he's so naive. Like, just kept shaking our heads at him like, oh, honey.
I mean, but remember, he's 15 for the majority of this show. He is a dumb teenage boy.
I don't dislike him for it. Like, I could see this character archetype of the naive, pure-hearted boy. Like, it gets ragged on a lot. I was like, dude, the boy is a Gundam protagonist.
No.
He's getting broken down to nothing. He does hop into Giant Robot at one point. You gotta give me that.
Yeah, and then his best friend steals it.
I know. And David saw that coming. And I didn't want to believe it.
It was like, no, why are you getting drunk? And I just turned and I was like, because that's the plan. He's going to get him drunk and hungover so he misses it. And then Franz will be the one to fight in the place. And he's probably going to show up right at the end going, no, Franz! And that is exactly what they did.
I was like, no, I don't want that to happen, but that's absolutely what's going to happen. Yeah. Oh, because it's such good drama.
As I will say, tropes are not bad. They are just storytelling devices. And just because something is predictable does not mean it is done poorly. If you want to be unpredictable, there's a good chance you will shit all over your show. Game of Thrones.
There were some great moments though, like when Fernand shot Mercedes and then shot Albert. I didn't see that coming. That was not in the book. I was like, dang, Fernand, you know? And then Bertuccio shows up to save the day. I was like, yes, Bertuccio.
Like, honestly, Fernand, I feel like, was done so well in this. Because, like, he is at this point, he is losing everything. And his wife is being like, okay, I'm going to leave. And that's just one more thing he's losing. So, of course, he's going to snap and say, no, you don't get to leave on your own. I'm going to be in control of everything I can.
Insecure man when confronted with his own, failings.
I mean, I think Insecure Man pretty much sums up Fernand Mondigo's entire character arc.
Yeah. It's, yeah.
And why did no one...
Revenge stories are always going to be popular as long as the right people are getting punished, you know?
So overall, I enjoyed the adaptation of the story. I did not enjoy watching it because of the visuals. But if you can get over those, it's pretty darn good.
I think the story choices they made were all really strong. The setting choices could have used a little more work. And the visual choices, I think,
painful.
They're going to divide people. It's like you're either going to like it or not.
Like, I'm going to admit, when I was watching the show originally, to give my one big thought in the visual choices, particularly for the costuming, I had to go, wait, did Maeda was he's the guy who did like just fell out of my head, Bakemonogatari, which does some similar stuff. And then I looked up and no, that was Shinbo, Akiyuki Shinbo. But I had it, and or also Madoka Magica as well. Like, nope. I think actually, I feel weird saying this, but this is a situation where if Akiyuki Shinbo came up to Maeda and said, hey, do you want to like keep everything as is, but do a redo of the director's cut redo of the visuals with more modern animation and CG work, plus my familiarity with what you're trying to do with the costume textures, with the costume patterns, I think it might actually work better. Because it does feel like now Shinbo hadn't done those works yet. Because this was 2004. Bakemonogatari didn't come out until 2009. It's entirely possible that Shinbo watched this and said, I want to try doing that in Bakemonogatari, and did that there, and arguably did it better. But yeah, that thought on that. But no, I did enjoy this. I do think the visual presentation is indeed a mess. I had a thought of like, am I going to do this show for like something since I watch anime with my parents? When I'm coming up with an open spot for a dramatic series, I had a thought of, did I want to do this for my parents? And I think the visuals are noisy enough that would be enough to bounce them off the show.
Yeah, I think if I had been watching it on my own initiative, I wouldn't have got past the first couple episodes, which is a shame because the storytelling is actually really good, especially in the second half.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about, I guess, of next month's show. So next month is October, so it's time for the spooky season. So we have some light horror this time. Another show of comparable length, I will say. Because we'll be covering the first season of Mushishi. Are you familiar with this series?
No.
It sounds familiar, but I need to look at the picture to see. To look at the.
All right.
Oh yeah. Yes. Picture of the protagonist. Oh yeah.
So let me check to make sure that it is still available on Crunchyroll. If not, I have a backup.
It is. That's where I pulled it up on.
Okay. Do we actually have season 1 on? No, we do not have season 1 on Crunchyroll.
No,
we only have the OVA.
In season 2. Okay.
So we only have the OVA in season 2. So I'm going to have to call an audible then. But I have a backup.
Mulligan.
We are going to do as our backup pick, since since Mushishi is not available, we are doing Miruko-Chan. This is a shorter series, 12 episodes. I'm glad I took a gander at the news article for Mushishi on ANN to confirm this. The premise of the series is it is a girl who can see ghosts around her in her daily life, and she really hates that. And she tries to ignore them, and is not necessarily successful. This is a series which, to a degree, I'm kind of going on by visuals to a certain respect, because you have all these very, very creepy ghosts around our main character. But, yep. It's also kind of played for comedy, because part of the joke is it's slice of life. It's supposed to be a slice of life series, but
Slice of death.
Slice of death series.
Slice of death series. Yes, a slice of death series. So going like swift shifting gears from spooky to spoopy, is how I would put it. So that's where we'll be at for next month, which honestly works for the best because also next month is my con month. I will be at Portland Retro Gaming Expo, and I will be at KimuraCon. So if you see me at Kumo, feel free to say hi. All right. So, that pretty much covers anything. So, once again, thank you all very much for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider backing to Patreon at patreon.com/count0or. Patreon backers get access to edited versions of these, my live streams for my game streams, my video essays, all sorts, regular reviews, all sorts of other stuff, up to a week in advance. I try to get the podcast up in advance of to backers as well, a little early than when it goes generally public, so there's that also. If doing a monthly thing on Patreon doesn't fit your budget, I have a Ko-fi at ko-fi.com/count0 as a tip jar. Anything you can contribute there helps as well. So once again, thank you all very much for listening, and we'll be back next month.